Hi guys, I'm this movie guy, and today I'm reviewing this book, Life Debt, which is the second book in the Aftermath trilogy. I have reviewed the first Aftermath, and now I'm reviewing this one because in a few weeks we got a new Aftermath book coming out, the last and the third in the trilogy, which is called Empire's End. I wanted to let you guys know my thoughts on the first two. If you've missed my review for the first one, I will put the link in the description below, because you should probably know what I think about the first one and the second one if I talk about Empire's End. Because yeah, they really tie into each other. You really need to know what I think about the first. You really need to know what happens in the first to really understand what happens in the second. I will say that you can read this book without having read the first Aftermath, but it's not really recommended. However, I don't really recommend reading the first one, so maybe just look up a synopsis online that really features everything that goes on in the first book, so you can understand this one, because really, that first one is not recommended, and this one is a little bit more recommended, but still, I'm not a big fan of it. The thing with Life Debt is that it is better than the first one in basically every way. There is not anything in Life Debt that is worse than Aftermath. I mean, first of all, just the writing style improved, and just the overall feeling of the book was more Star Wars-like. It was less that I was thinking this is bad written fan fiction, and more that I was like, oh no, this is the actual story of Star Wars that I can actually buy into. So that was a good thing. Still, it's got quite some issues, and initially I gave this book like a 7 out of 10, and that score has dropped a little because I listened to the audiobook this time. I thought that was a good idea, and I really want to give credit to the guy who voices these audiobooks, because he really gets passionate. He really is good in terms of like producing different voices for every character, and it really enhances the experience a little bit more. But I actually thought it was a little bit less in terms of like story and whatnot, because yeah, for some reason Chuck Wendig just doesn't connect with me in terms of like what he does for Star Wars, and this is also the reason why I'm not looking forward that much to Empire's End. I mean, I gotta pre-order it. I will definitely read it as soon as it comes out, and then I'll give my review and say what I think about it. I hope it's even better than this one, but I really extremely doubt that Empire's End is going to crack my top 5 of canon novels. First off, I'll probably have to explain a little bit what goes on in Life Debt, because it's called Life Debt. You see the Millennium Falcon on the cover, so Han Solo, anyone, and Chewie, right? Yeah, that is a part of the story, indeed. Quite a big part, actually. It's not the most interesting part, to be honest. But yes, Han Solo is in the book quite a lot, and he has to do something on Kashyyyk with Chewie. Because Kashyyyk, at this point, and it's kind of weird because we are now like 1 year into the New Republic, 1 year after the Battle of Endor, and still Kashyyyk is an Imperial planet. It actually is on lockdown. Like, it's completely occupied by the Empire for some reason, even though the New Republic is like freeing the entire system from the Empire. So, a little bit odd, but whatever. Can happen in this universe. It's not out of the realm of possibility in my book. So basically the idea of this story is that the group that we met in the first book, John Burrell, Joss, Temin, Nora, Sinjir, they have to help out Han on his mission, and that's really what this book is about. Is that the most interesting part of the book? No, not at all. I still don't give a crap about the characters, but I'll get into that with my negatives. I'll just say what I do like about this book. As with the first one, basically the best thing about the book is the Empire. Is the state that the Empire is in, the Imperial figures, the tie-ins to the rest of the saga, because there are more tie-ins to The Force Awakens in this book. There are some really interesting things going on Jakku. Very mysterious things, but very interesting. And really the question is, what is going on in Jakku, and why is Jakku such a big place? Because if you know a little bit about Star Wars, then you know that the Battle of Jakku takes place 1 year after the Battle of Endor, and that is going to be the next book. That is going to be Empire's End. So this basically sets that up, and it does that in a very good way. It does it in a way that I'm like, okay, now I want to know what happens on Jakku with the Empire in Empire's End. We already got a little bit of that in Lost Stars, to be honest, but not that much. Like, what we saw in Lost Stars is Grand Moff Rand and Ciena Ree doing some things for the Empire. That was just a little piece of it, because Grand Moff Rand actually has to answer to Grand Admiral Ray Sloane in this book, because for some reason between the last Aftermath, this one, she was promoted to Grand Admiral from just being an Admiral, even though she's not the leader of the Empire. Like, Grand Admiral is a big title, but there is one other person that shows up in this book, interesting character, really interesting character, that is Gallius Rex, and he actually is kind of the new Emperor. He actually was also connected to Palpatine. You learn a lot about him in this book, and a lot of people, when this book came out, was like, he is Snoke! He has to be Snoke! It's so obvious, this has to be Snoke. Okay, so if it was Snoke, can you please explain me why I did not have any idea of that when I was reading this? Here's the thing. There is no evidence at all in this book that he is Snoke. I mean, is it a theory that is in the slightest way possible? Kinda, yeah. I give it like a 2% chance that Gallius Rex is Snoke. I mean, at this point, the bigger chance for me of somebody being Snoke that we already know from either a TV show or a book is Ezra Bridger, and I am not really into that theory at all. Like, Ezra, for me, is the most likely of all of the characters that could be Snoke at one point, but I do not believe that, and I sure as hell don't believe that Gallius Rex is Snoke, because when I was reading it, I had no clue that he could be Snoke. Then the theory came out, I thought about it, and I was like, no, that he's definitely not Snoke. And then when I listened to it this time on the audiobook, I was listening like, could he be Snoke? And I was like, no, he's connected to Palpatine. He's not Snoke. He's definitely not Snoke. Stop kidding yourselves. He's an interesting character, though. He's very interesting. There's a lot of mystery surrounding him, which makes for a good character. And as I said, like, really the stuff with the Empire, with Ray Sloane and Gallius Rex, that is the most interesting part. You get quite a lot of that, so that's pretty good. And also still, like, I really like Sinjir. I already liked him in the first book, and I still like him a lot in this book. Like, he's a really good character. He is really the only character that I give a shit about in this book, because, yeah, of the main cast, I still don't care about any of them. Shit. I wanted to say more positive things, some interesting interludes, and the interludes are not as jarring as the first one, where in the first Aftermath, the interludes really took me out of the story every time they were there. This time, they didn't really take me out of the story, and they actually told an interesting part. It was actually during most of this book that I was just looking forward to some interludes to have a little bit more interesting stories going on than the actual main story, because yeah, I still don't care at all about these characters. It sucks. It really sucks. Look, I've read books in the new canon. I've basically only read books in the new canon. I haven't read anything of Legends, so the thing is, everything that I'm reading is canon, is a part of the Star Wars universe. And I've read books like Lost Stars with new characters. I didn't know Thana and Ciena, and after reading it, I love those characters. I have read books with known characters like Tarkin. The Tarkin novel, we had Tarkin in that. I know him. That was done well. That was doing the character justice and expanding on that character a little bit more. So there have been books with new characters that make me care about the new characters. There have been books with characters I already know that expanded on that character and did the character justice. In this case, we have both new characters and characters that we already know from the movies, and I don't give a shit about any of them. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? This is so stupid. Nora, I still do not give a crap about her. She could die for all I care. Temmin, her son, who I know is going to be in The Force Awakens, I do not care about him. It really annoys me because he's a character that I see in The Force Awakens, and I should watch that movie and be like, oh my god, I know that character from that book, and they really did a good job with him, but they did not, and it's just, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, oh, I know his backstory and it's not all that great and it actually detracts from his character. yeah, that doesn't really do me any favors. That doesn't really do Chuck Wendig any favors. That he just doesn't know that Star Wars is, for the biggest part, about good, likable characters. Look, I'm not going to go into every of the new characters. I have to talk a little bit about Han Solo. Han Solo is a big part of this book, and I believe that in the first Aftermath or the second or both, I don't care, I didn't look it up, but somewhere Chuck Wendig said that he identifies himself with Han Solo, that he recognizes Han Solo in himself, that he is like that character. So if you say that, if you make that statement, I assume you know how to write Han Solo. But what does he do? Well, he actually fucks something up about him. There is something in this book that is mind-bogglingly shitty for me, that detracts from Han Solo's character. That is something that I could never imagine Han Solo doing. So that really pissed me off, and it actually sucks because I was looking forward to Han and Chewie doing cool things, but in the end, what I get is something that detracts from his character, that is out of character, and then I'm like, wait, this doesn't line up with what I've seen from Han Solo in the movies. So that actually sucks. It actually sucks that he is apparently Chuck Wendig is very passionate about Han Solo. Apparently he identifies himself with him, but not in a good way. So yeah, that really is something that annoyed the shit out of me. And I was saying that I was done talking about the new characters that were first introduced in Aftermath. Yeah, I'm not, because you know this was coming. Mr. Bones is still in this book. Oh, what a joy, what a good thing. Yes, we want more Mr. Bones, right? No, fuck that. I'm so done with this character. If Mr. Bones gets destroyed, gets killed in any way, I don't care. Just kill him off at the very beginning of Empire's End, and I will be cheering with joy. Because I don't give a crap about a fucking battle droid, and he's still in this book. To a lesser extent, though. He's a lot less in this book than in the first Aftermath, so I applaud that. And I really want them to do what they did with Jar Jar Binks in the prequel trilogy. Jar Jar Binks in the first was a big part of it. In the second was a lesser part of it. In the third, he was hardly in it. So if they could do the same. Like, he was a big part in the first Aftermath, he was a lesser part in Life Debt, and he is hardly at all in Empire's End. I will be so happy if they can do that, because Mr. Bones, he does something in this book that pissed me off to no end, that I was like, holy shit, can we just kill this character off right now? Can he just die? And I know that he's connected to Temmin, but if I don't give a shit about Temmin, and if I don't give a shit about anyone really involved in that group except for Sinjir, then I'm like, I don't fucking care if any one of them dies. They can all die for all I care. The only one that would upset me is Sinjir, and there actually is one of them that would make me cheer with joy if that happens on the first page of the next book, which of course is Mr. Bones. Yeah, you completely fucked up with your characters. Too bad. And in the end, I hear myself now ranting about this book, and I really did not want to do that, because I do think the book is better than the first, and it's good enough. But really, like, thinking about this book, it pissed me off, and I was like, I have to lower my grade. I have to simply lower my grade. I will barely, and actually I should give it a lower score, but I will barely give Life Debt a 6 out of 10. And that is only because the good parts about this book outweigh the bad parts for me. There are definitely some really interesting good parts, especially with the Empire and the tie-ins to the rest of the saga, like with The Force Awakens and what we know from the original trilogy, how it connects them. That is definitely good, and that really outweighs it for me. But it still has a lot of issues, Life Debt, and this is the reason why I'm not that excited for Empire's End. I mean, as I said, I have it on pre-order, I'm definitely going to read it, but I'm not even close in terms of my level of excitedness, anticipation, as for Thrawn. I mean, I've seen people being more excited for Empire's End than Thrawn. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Did you read Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy? Because I've only gone through the first third of Heir to the Empire, the first book of the Thrawn trilogy, and you need to understand, these books are canon and the Thrawn trilogy is legends. The Thrawn trilogy does not exist in this universe. They made that back in the day and then Disney scrapped it a few years ago from canon. But I suggest reading that trilogy because that is a great trilogy. Those are phenomenal books, and from the first third of the Heir to the Empire novel, I can already tell those books are phenomenally better than this one. If you want to read up on all of the canon, yes, please, by all means, read Life Debt. But don't tell me you're more excited for Empire's End and Thrawn, because Thrawn is going to be so much better than Empire's End. I can already tell that, based off the fact that Thrawn is a great character, and there are no characters in this book as great as Thrawn. Heck, the entire group is just not great. Only Sinjir is really good, and that's it. So I'm really baffled by the fact that more people are excited for Empire's End than for Thrawn. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, that is all I have to say about Life Debt, and now I wonder, what do you think of it? Do you agree with me? Do you like it more, or do you dislike it more than I do? Please, whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you've liked my review and you want to see more of my movie, trailer, and Star Wars reviews, you can click right here.